back to another episode of Minority Report. Got Kelly and Gabby as always. We were supposed to have a guest, but that fell through. Well, we were supposed to have a guest last week. So maybe we'll have another one next week, or have one next week. But I'm today's host, and today's podcast we're going to be talking about poverty in the world. Just is it the world's problem, or is it a social problem? Do you think it's something that falls on everybody? That's an issue that we all should be helping to deal with? And if so, what would be your solutions to combat poverty? And if not, you don't think it's a world issue, then why is that?
Okay. Well, yeah, I most definitely think that poverty is a world issue. But I don't think it's something that we can combat as a whole. I think it's more or less a country's job to manage its own poverty. So I think maybe it was like 3 or 4 months ago, I was reading an article, and you guys can fact check me later if you'd like, but it said that in the United States of America, there are enough abandoned and foreclosed homes for every homeless person in America to own 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy to think about. Yeah. The massive amount of homeless people you see in the overpopulated cities, such as like LA or New York, Chicago, cities like that. And just to think that we have enough houses for them to own 2, and why is that? Why is poverty an issue if we have an abundance of means to suffice all these homeless people? So, and I mean, you see that globally, but us, we have the means, we have the power, we have the will to make it happen. So why don't we make it happen?
Yeah. So why do you? I mean, I kind of get what you're saying. Like it's each country's own kind of issue to like probably help combat it, but you don't see it as like world's problem. So like if let's just say like every country in the world had no poverty but one, you think it's just that country's problem?
No, I mean, as human beings, we're all in this struggle together. So yeah, it would be nice. It would be ideal for the world to rely on each other, everybody help each other out, but that's just not how it happens. So I guess if it was possible, yeah, I'd say I'd go for it. But the fact that I know that it's just a bunch of egotistical, power-hungry nations out there, yeah. So
it is possible. You think it is possible? You just don't think it's going to happen. You don't think it's
it's definitely possible, but just not plausible. So
yeah.
What about you, Gabby?
I don't know. I think that if we are going to talk about it globally, we need to come up with a definition for poverty. Poverty in the U.S. is going to be completely different than poverty in South America, poverty in Africa. So
Let's
I think
say that just like homelessness.
I think again there's a lot of things like for the U.S. we track our poverty. It's determined by our census, and it's your income before taxes, pre-taxed income. And there's a threshold that they bring up for inflation every year. And if you are not above that threshold, you're in poverty. And so the poverty rate in the US isn't even that high. It was at 15%, like in the early 2000s. And like that was some of the highest poverty levels, but we've declined back down to like 12% since then. And so the levels, like the amount of people that are considered in poverty based on the income threshold isn't that high in the US. And so like that's just based on the Census Bureau and your income versus inflation and the economy. And so if we take that person that's in poverty, because like technically 4 years ago I would have been considered in poverty. So if we take my poverty from that time and compare it to someone else that has a home that isn't homeless but they're considered in poverty in a different country, I imagine it's probably gonna be a lot worse to be in poverty in that country than it is for me. So I think if we're gonna go globally, I think it's just really depends on what we define as poverty. Like I would myself not claim that I was in poverty because I mean I was fed, I had a house, we had a car, and you know we could go on a trip every now and then or something small. Like so I don't consider that poverty, but apparently I was in poverty, didn't even know it. But so I mean I don't know. I think that that is just such a like tricky definition that we would have to be more clear. And like I think it would boil down for like a solution. We would need to look at the subcategories to poverty. You know, in America, it's single mothers that are most likely going to be in poverty versus anybody else. It's the highest rate are single mothers. Ethnic groups are going to be high in poverty. We got to figure out why. And so I think at that point, like if we're strictly speaking about the US, I think that we should look at our highest rates of poverty and figure out what those subcategories are and see what's going on in those subcategories to solve that poverty issue.
Okay. So, and based by what you said, that also, I feel like that also, it kind of co-aligns with what I said, each nation having to handle their own business, you know what I'm saying? Because they would understand better what their line of poverty is or homelessness is. So, I mean, we can help them in means of like funding, but other than that, and maybe like manpower to help build, but
yeah, that's like really funny that you said that because some of the solutions like that are listed on like there's like a wholepoverty.org website, everything like that you could possibly want to learn about poverty or to help if you wanted to help you know around global poverty issues. The solutions to it are they want you to manage the water, like your water sources, like efficiently and properly. They want to promote agricultural growth and resources. They want to promote trade. And if you are given access to technology and innovation, that's what pulls countries out of poverty, like those things. So like the fact that you're like, hey, you know, let's go fund them and like, let's go build shit over there. Like that's exactly what they're saying is needed. You know, they need buildings, they need farm support, they need access to like the better technology to accomplish those things. So like, it's very funny that you said that.
that's wild to think about. Also, it's just, and you got to think of the global scale. Like as great as the country of America is, you know, we're a I would like to say we're a fighting force nation wise. I think.
Did they teach you that in the Navy?
No, that's my own personal opinion. I just think we're the guy who doesn't like to see other people get bullied, but we don't fight. We take it out on other bullies, but we don't fix our own internal issues, you know? Because like maybe like what it was 2 weeks ago, I saw that certain countries put out a warning to their citizens saying to be wary when traveling to America because of all the like the high racism, the profiling, and the shootings. You know what I'm saying? So other countries are putting out warnings to be wary of coming to our country, which most Americans consider the greatest nation. You know, so I feel like that goes with what Carl said. Like, is it a world problem? Yeah, but us personally, we got to fix our own problems, because if it was up to the world trying to help us, I doubt that they'd lend a helping hand. I don't think the rest of the world sees us as worth it because of all the issues that we've yet to solve ourselves. So, yeah.
Yeah, I read that alert because like when I had went to Italy, I had signed up. I signed my passport in and everything just in case something happened. Like I was able to be found and stuff. So I still get alerts from them, and I got that warning, and like I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was very intelligent because when we travel, like you guys know, like when you travel across any of our oceans and you go to another country, you are informed of the dangers in that country.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think it's completely relevant and fair to do that for the people coming to our country. Like, to me, that would be like the first level to establish trust with people coming to the U.S. Like, Like, and it's not like they're coming to the States and then there's just like mass shooters, guns blazing every left turn that you take. That's really not. It's really not what's happening. But they should be aware that, hey, we do have the highest rate in the world. These are things you want to look out for, things to avoid, this and that. And so like, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was, because I've never seen a warning for the US, like coming back into the US. I've never seen one. And so like, but I've always got those warnings for those other countries. So it's just, I thought it was great.
What about you, Carl? What you think? You look like you over there pondering.
No, I mean, I just think you guys made a lot of valid points, but I guess I just should have been more like clear with the question. I wasn't necessarily how you saying with the census thing with like poverty. That makes sense. But I guess my question was really just more towards like just homelessness and, you know, like people starving kind of stuff. Not really just like what the government decides or classifies as someone being in poverty just because they don't make a certain amount. I'm talking about people like, you know, in the streets and people that are starving, stuff like that. Do I think it's a world problem? Yes and no. When I say a world problem, I don't really look at it as like individual countries. I mean, I guess it's hard not to, but I'm talking about like us as like the human race, like a human society, like, you know, not dividing us, you know, like, you know, that's your problem kind of thing. But I guess it's kind of hard not to do that, just the way the world works. It's kind of hard not to just divide it, but I still think it's like it's definitely a global issue, unless you just don't really care, you know. I think it is still a global issue because you shouldn't want to see anybody, you know, struggling and in those kind of conditions. I just think it's crazy because like people hit the lottery, you know, people win millions and millions of dollars. Like there's a interview with Tupac, but he said this, and it was like, there's no way people should be hitting. What's the lady like almost close to like $1 billion in the lottery, you know, like, and there's people out here starving, you know, and we're out here, you know, winning money as like a prize. You know, I'm not saying but I also see on the other aspect too, it's like, in a way, like how do you help these people without like setting them up? You know what I mean? Like you can't, you know, okay, I understand like nobody wants to go, okay, we're gonna buy them all houses and give them food, but then it's like, then what? You know, like how are they gonna maintain those homes or just whatever? So like I see it from both ways. It's kind of like, you know, you want to help them, but at the same time, it's like, how do you help them to the point where it's like they can be productive members of society and like get back, and like it's not just like, okay, we just, since you're homeless, you know, we're gonna give you a house and just now you're gonna just live a carefree life, you know, like. So I think it stems more than just giving them money and a place to stay, but I think there's deeper issues that need to go into fixing the problem. But I just think it's crazy that, you know, there's people, you know, just look like athletes, you know, athletes making so much money, like, you know, musicians, they making all this money, actors, you know, it's like, and they go out and they spend their money on all these crazy lavish things like $1 million watches and shit. It's like,
but isn't that
it's
money? Like, shouldn't they?
That's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with that. That is their money. But that's what I'm saying. That's where it comes to like more of a, like just a conscious thing, you know? It's like, it's just material things. I'm just saying how I see it, how I feel about it. If you've earned that money, yeah, you deserve to splurge. You deserve to spend a little bit. But it's just, to me, there's such a, like financially, it's so easily could be fixed. You know what I mean? Like it's just something that we have there. The money is out there to do it. To like, if people really want to, like Kelly was saying, like it's possible, but people just don't think about it like that. People,
I think it goes deeper than that. I don't think that the solution's that simple. I think that if you did that with someone that's homeless, you're looking at a multitude of issues. Addiction's a huge one. You have someone that probably wants to be homeless. It's a commonality now. Like, I mean, I don't know how accurate it is. I haven't read any numbers on it, but you know, coming across homeless people, like, Some of them prefer to be on the street. It's a life without any responsibility. It's a life that you always get money or food from Good Samaritans going on their way to work. So you don't really have to do too much outside of what you want to do. And so, I mean, it really, like, there's a multitude of issues. Like, it's just levels. So if we gave that person a home, how are we knowing that they're not utilizing that home in a way that's even more negative for themselves? Then that brings you to the next question. Who are we to decide what is best for you? You decide that, not me.
Well, I'm not saying we have to like go and like round them up and like force them into homes, but I think it's if you want to live like that, then fine, that's your choice. But it doesn't mean that those options shouldn't be there, or we shouldn't try to help the people that do want the help. Because like you said, there's people out there homeless with children. You know, there's people stating, like usually people don't accept like homeless fathers that have children. Like,
well, there's programs for that. He's given an option: give your children up, and the kids will be taken care of. If the father doesn't give up the child,
yeah, but that shouldn't have to be the case. You shouldn't have to give up your kids. I see what you're saying. You have to think the better of the child, ultimately. But at the same time, it's like it shouldn't have to. Like there should be a place where that man could go with his child. Why should he have to give the child up?
I understand what you're saying. I feel you, and I wish there was a way to like all the starving and like hungry people, the homeless people, like aid them. But so take a look at what are our main resources? Like what would this country have to offer to other starving countries? You know what I'm saying? Because we ourselves as Americans, we're probably some of the worst eaters. Like all of our food is processed.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like in terms of agriculture, I think we're we probably actually are amongst the highest, but
we are.
People, I mean, don't eat fresh, and if you try to eat fresh, it's super expensive. So it's like, you can't win, and as far as the starving people, like if you're starving, you're going to need an abundance of nutrition, like no processed foods, which here they're donating unperishable items, like stuff that, I mean, yeah, it helps a tiny bit, but it's not what they really need,
Do you think it would be like helpful to have those people like work on farms, like those do, like, because those willing to work?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like there's got to be a way to like they can contribute and give back to society.
Well, like just like freeze that thought, like just for a second. Like America itself, like you described it pretty well, Kelly, with like the analogy of we're like that kid in school that wants to stop all the other bullies without fixing ourselves, right? Like, yeah, like, I mean, I would agree to that analogy to a certain extent. Absolutely. Yeah, we are constantly putting our nose in everybody's business. But I think that's the expectation. If you look at the United States, you're expecting, the help or the standard of what a good life is. And I mean, we don't always do that very well. But I mean, imagine everything that you guys are saying. Like, if we go help another country, what could we do to help them? I think you're right. I don't think sending perishables is a good idea. I think that's a good idea in the event of an emergency, like hurricane or something,
I was talking about you were saying like globally. I was talking about like the people that we have in our own country, like working like farms and stuff. I wasn't talking about like other people coming from other countries and doing that.
Well, what I'm saying is if we go help because it kind of sounded like what Kelly was getting at, we go to another country and like, hey, let's set up a farm. You guys work on it. It'd be like someone else coming into your home and being like, get off the couch, don't sit that way. It's like, why would you listen to someone else coming into your home telling you how to run your home? I think that's why we won't be able to address poverty or homelessness or anything as a globe. I think it has to be separated because it's such a sensitive issue.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about. Yeah, I was not saying the farm thing. I wasn't. I wasn't going to the farm thing. Yeah, I wasn't talking about other countries.
I heard you, but I was saying that from what Kelly was describing. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, because that's what I was on. That's the topic I was on.
Oh, you were saying like going to other countries and make farms over there for them?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Nah, I was saying that people in our homeless and stuff, like if they can, work on farms that we already have, because, especially with the whole, the border thing, like a lot of the farms are you know, losing that help, those farmhands. So they're kind of struggling. So I think in turn, why don't we, say app or offer those, go out and see if those homeless people, they could, if they want to work on those farms. I'm sure a lot of them probably don't, but I'm sure there's a lot of them that would be willing to too.
See, but that's already an option for them. It's not like, there's a sign that says no homeless people to work over here. Like those are all options.
But there's a lot of homeless, and I would say more so in like the major cities where there's not really that many farms. So, and then then too, and exactly, you got to think about that too. It's like they go out there and let's say they do make it out to these farms. It's like, where are they going to live? Where are they going to stay? You know what I'm saying? You got to like think about that too. It's like, I'm going to go out there, like where are they going to stay at? So it's like, you got to think about, it's options, but you got to think about, getting to these places and, and having a means to live out there too, unless they're just then you're going to go out to where there's less people because it's farmland, unless you get like somebody, the farm owner that's really generous and is willing to feed you and help you until you make enough, which it would probably be pretty hard. It'd be a long time for you to be able to sustain on your own.
I think that it boils right back down to, I think that we need to promote mental illness awareness, mental health in general. I think that is a huge issue in our homeless epidemic. I think that there's a lot of mental issues there that are not being addressed. It's that those resources are not available to them. And so they're just stuck in this spiral of just not getting out of homelessness. I think drug addiction's another huge one. That stuff needs to be addressed before they could even be offered a job or anything. Because, I mean, jobs are available to them. It's not that it's not. They are. But you have thick layers of other things that we are just not addressing with these people. And if we are addressing, it's not consistent and it's probably not the best. I don't expect everyone to get the best, but I would expect people to have at least an option to seek some healthcare for their mental well-being. But there's a few, I forget which cities, they buy out the old warehouses and they turn them into the little apartments for them. And that seems to be going well.
I forget what. I think Cleveland might be one. I think I was reading that as well.
Yeah, especially those places like Cleveland, Detroit, and all them stuff that just have all these abandoned homes. People just go and fix those up. But I definitely agree. Obviously, mental health and drug addiction, but not every homeless person is suffering from those things. Some people just just bad on their luck. I just think it would be better to look. I think we're looking at it from a place of, just go apply yourself kind of thing. But I think if we talk to somebody that's not like a drug addict or whatever, mental health, it's just down to look. You gotta think too, how many places are willing to hire someone that's homeless? Because you got somebody that's walking in that may be dirty or whatever, they're gonna already have a perception of them that they might not be dependable or whatever, whatever situation it is.
There's laws.
And then if you go
there's laws that protect you, though. There's laws. If you go to an interview,
okay, can I finish?
And you're homeless.
Can I finish what I'm saying?
There's laws that protect you. And if you go to any
can I finish
company, corporation, there's phone numbers and resources immediately available.
But let's say you do. Let's say you fill out an application, and you know how application they want place of residence, they want ID, they want so many things that this homeless person just may not have. I'm not saying that's impossible, but the odds are stacked against them unless they have some type of extenuating help. You know what I mean? It's not just I fill out application and that's it.
I think if you victimize people, I think that it just becomes a bigger problem.
I'm not victimizing, but I'm just saying it's not just so. It's not
what you're doing.
It's not so easy as you're making it out to be. Like people just.
I never said it was easy.
Well, you're saying that, oh, just do this and do that, but I'm saying it's not.
That's not
just
what I'm
that
saying.
easy.
What
So
I'm
what are you
saying is
saying?
we as a society should promote the healthcare and the well-being of these individuals so that we can help them figure out if they're in hard on their luck, we can help them figure that out. If
Yes,
they're
and I
drug
agree with you
addicted,
on that
we
already,
can
though.
help them figure that out. But
I already agreed with you with
if
that.
we sit here and
I
go,
was talking
well,
about people
the
that
cards are
aren't
stacked
mental
against them,
health and don't have drug
regardless of
addiction.
whether or
I'm
not they're
talking
mental
about the
health or
people
not,
that
we
don't
should
have
be
that
able
issue.
to assist them still through those same programs. You don't have to be a crazed lunatic to utilize that program, but we have a resource here specifically for that. For someone that's not crazy, come to the same building, but don't go to the crazy person door. Come to the, hey, I'm down on my luck door, and let's figure out what we can do to get your finances in order. Do you need a place of residence? You can use this building as your place of residence. So, like, I'm not
Isn't that
saying
what I
like
was
it's
saying? I was saying that
illegal,
earlier, though. I had already said that earlier. That there should be somewhere like programs, people that help.
but there are
To.
to a very short extent. However, I believe that it should be greatly expanded. But I mean, if we sit here and say, "Hey, the cards are stacked against you," it's so hard. I think at that point, it's a losing battle. As soon as you victimize somebody, you now give them every reason and excuse to not apply themselves, to not try. Why? Because yep, cards are stacked against me, and like, no. How about we get you some help?
It's not really what. Go ahead, Kelly.
No, I mean, I see what her point. Now, continue your statement. I don't, because now I want to see where you're coming from.
I'm not saying that when I say the cards are stacked against, I'm just trying to say that it's not as simple as just going in and doing this and that. Like some businesses and companies are just automatically going to be like, no, or, they're not willing to help. That's what I mean when I say it's not as easy as someone like Kelly going in and applying for a job. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have those car stacks against him. Like, as for like transportation, he can get in his car. He can go online with application. Most places nowadays, you go in there, try to fill out application, it's online. You know what I mean? Okay. Then they say they go to the library, whatever, to get it. It's just,
yeah.
It's just simpler. It's just easier for somebody that is battling to get a job, say like Kelly versus this homeless guy. You know what I mean? Like,
I understand what you mean, but like going back onto what Gabby said, I feel like it just depends on how bad that person wants it, and their mental state at the time. Obviously, yeah. If you're of good mental health and you need to get off the street and you want to do better for yourself, just because you get shot down once, you're not gonna just give up. You're gonna keep trying until somebody, because there's gonna be somebody who's gonna give you a shot. So it's what you do with that shot that matters. So yeah, I think both of you guys were on the same point, but just like at basically
different perspectives. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think overall, I think that if we look at poverty or homelessness, I think that it's not as simple as looking at someone on the street, because there are multiple variables that we just have no idea. Like we went over a few of those issues, and I think that we should look at those subcategories and figure out what's the majority, what's the least, and look at the ethnic background, the racial background, the family background, the history, the criminal history. I think if we start mapping it out and we take more time to research it and to figure it out, then we would have a better idea of how, where, and when to direct those resources to which people. Not everyone's a drug addict. Not everyone is a mental case. Not everyone has those problems. However, they're in the same position. So how about we fine tune that so that we're not shoving rehab down someone who's already sober. Like, how about, we can redirect those resources in a more positive way so that the next time that they are knocked down, they know where that next building is to give them a hand. Hey, I tried this. What can I do? How can I overcome this? What's your advice? What's this and that? There's social workers, social programs already in place currently to help people. The problem is the outreach. I think it's a disconnect. We already have these programs. We already have these resources, but it's not widespread and the outreach isn't there. Not everybody knows where that building is. Not everybody knows that it's even available. So I think that's the disconnect.
How would you propose that we go about fixing that outreach problem? How do you think it should be, like, have people just...
Do you think we need more of those programs? Do you think they need more funding? Like, what do you think it is?
More people, like, going out in the streets and proposing these programs to homeless people, or what?
I think the pop-up idea is pretty cool. Like, there's a lady, I think, no, is it a guy? Well, there's somebody that, I think it's in Florida. They bought a, like, small bus, and they turned it into a shower and health van. So they go throughout all of the, like, little homeless pods, and they stop and allow them to shower, get a change of clothes, and they do a quick exam on them to let them know, hey, you should go to the emergency room, or, hey, you're fine, you know, whatever. And so I think that idea is a really good idea, because homeless pods constantly change because they're constantly getting kicked out of places. And so I think that if we put a building next to a homeless pod, that's fine for that week, but you have no idea when the authorities are going to come and force them to leave. So it's not like you can change buildings. But I think if we do like the mobile van services, if there's one for showering and a quick health check, if there's one for dental, there's one for, you know, a counselor, a sit down, a job fair kind of deal, or, you know, whatever. I'm not an expert, so I don't know exactly what these titles are of these vans, but I think since it's working for that specific thing, I think that it's worth looking into.
All right. Jaden Smith did I don't know if he still does it, but I know he did it was a couple months back. He did a food truck. He like started a food truck thing where they go out and they have food for the homeless. And
research this when you guys get a chance, because me and a couple of friends, we actually got into a debate about this, like if it was like a good idea or not. But I guess there was a bunch of, I guess, private RNs or whatever. They started their own little van. But what it was clean needles for addicts. Yeah. And then obviously a place for them to dispose of their dirty needles. Yeah. So like that debate was pretty heated, and it was pretty long, because people were just, you know, saying, oh, you're feeding their addiction and da. And then, you know what I'm saying? They were like, oh, well, they're stopping the spread of disease. Yeah, it is nuts. I mean, I could see where the good and the bad could be in that. Because, I mean, yeah, you are kind of, you know, stopping to kind of help the spread of disease. But then it's like also, yeah, you're helping the addict. Exactly.
Why is that so bad, guys? Why is that so bad? Why? I don't know. What's the problem there? I think, it is like their own decision, like whether or not they want to indulge in whatever they're indulging in.
Yeah, but it's controversial because, like, yeah, they can do what they want, but like, don't help them.
It was like, yeah, it was a taboo. It was a taboo thing. I was just like,
oh. It's like on the flip side, it's good because, you know, it's at least they're being clean about it now. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I had read that story, right? I saw it on 2020 or one of those shows or whatever. They did a snippet on that, and I thought it was an excellent idea. I thought it was really cool that they were given a spot to dispose of that. I didn't care that they were using needles. I cared that they were bringing back the old ones. Because how many times have you heard these mothers take their kids to the frickin' park and then they step on a frickin' needle? Yeah. Like, I mean, to me, I would rather that person go do as many drugs as they want, but bring the needles back as long as the kid doesn't get poked with their garbage. So I thought that was super, super positive for that. And then the second thing, I started thinking about it, and I researched like their website, whatever, and it brings a certain level of shame that they are able to hide from when they're hiding. And so when you bring that truth to light, and they have to go and pick up needles, that shame and that guilt now becomes aware. Mm-hmm. They have to see it in the light. And so that shame and guilt forces you eventually. It doesn't happen today or tomorrow or the next week. Eventually it eats away at you, and you either die trying to stop or you frickin' stop eventually. Yeah.
And that was the thing too with that, but like they would not just like, oh, you come here and grab a free needle. It's like you had to bring like 2 or 3 dirty needles and dispose of them before they gave you one clean needle.
It's genius. Yeah. It's genius. The third thing is that when they go and drop these needles off and pick up their new ones, it gives them an opportunity to have a resource to find the right resource for them. Because obviously the person that's giving you the clean needles and is disposing, your old crap, obviously has a better idea of where you can go get help.
Yeah.
So eventually those people find help. So I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was multifaceted with a long-term success goal. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Because then it opens up a conversation, like, you see these people and then
Exactly.
develop like a rapport. I think when you look at it deeper, it might be beneficial.
See, we just saw the surface, but you just broke the surface for us, Gabby.
Yeah, y'all a bunch of cavemen. Oh my god.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like we saw like the good, but we just didn't dig that deep down into it.
Yeah, we did. We definitely did.
You guys are like, excuse me, drugs on my watch? No.
But yeah. Yep.
That's crazy. Where was this at? Where they do this at?
I can't remember what cities. I'm sure
there's a couple.
Yeah, I'm almost positive LA was one of them.
Yeah, me too. I'm thinking LA and San Francisco. It was up and down that. Yeah.
And they do something like that out here, man.
Yeah, it really is bad out there.
A bunch of meth heads and crazy. Hey, they're people too, man.
I don't know.
All right, I think that's about all we got for today's episode. Thanks for listening. See you guys next week.
Peace.